Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Giridhari Radhika Raman Giriju Ki Jai Ho. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balava Givanadhari Gopi Jana Balava Givanadhari Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balava Givanadhari Gopi Jana Balava Givanadhari Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Natira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Shri Shri Gandharva Giridhari Radhika Raman Ki Jai Ho. Om Agana Timarandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Mahavandanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaur Tavashe Namaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. First of all, I'd like to offer my heartfelt Puspanjali to the lotus feet of my Harinam Diksha Guru, my Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Second of all, to my Bhajan Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, our Guru Dev, and to Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, and to the entire Guru Parampara, especially to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and his Madhurya Kadambini. Now, as you notice, we lost our singer, so we're trying to learn how to sing here. So please bear with us. It'll get better each session, probably. I'm not used to singing in public, that's for sure. So anyhow. Hare Krishna. I'm really shy to sing, but we do need to sing. So, okay, today is a very special day. Today is the end of Sadhan Bhakti. Sadhan Bhakti. And next week, we'll go into Bhav Bhakti. So Ashakti marks the end of Sadhan Bhakti. We go from Shraddha to Bhajana Kriya, with Sadhu Sangha, Narjanavritti, Nishta, Ruchi, and Ashakti. So this is a very special stage, actually, this stage of Ashakti, because a little bit of this transcendental bhav is just starting to little shine in the heart. So this Ashakti is called, Manoharini. That means the enchantment of the heart. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says Manoharini, enchantment of the heart. So last week we spoke about Ruchi. Ruchi was very special also. But in Ashakti, things are more spontaneous. Up until the level of, and at the end of Ruchi, still there's intelligence being used. Our intelligence, okay, we're thinking, okay, my mind is wandering. I can't keep it on my bhajan. I must bring it back like this. So the mind, and with our conscious intelligence, then we're bringing our mind back. And we don't even, especially in the stage of Nishta, we don't even know what made it wander. All of a sudden we just find ourselves off in New York or something, or in Delhi or any place. And we don't even know what happened, right? We were chanting our mantras and it was wonderful, and all of a sudden we're in Russia or someplace, right? We don't even know how it started. But finally in Ashakti, it's the other way around. The mind starts to automatically go towards our lovable object, Sri Krishna, Radha and Krishna, or whatever form. So Vishal Chakravarti Thakur usually uses the term Bhagavan, goes to Bhagavan, our worshipful object. So the sadhak will be, and all of a sudden he'll say, oh, and he's just absorbed in his bhajan, and he doesn't know how it started. That is the difference between Ruchi and Ashakti. In Ruchi, still some intelligence, we're still having our mind is wandering some, even though the great taste is there, still it's not like Ashakti. Ashakti is called the mature stage of Ruchi. Ruchi is like the beginning, taste is coming. So then automatically you don't really want to do these other activities that we've done before. We just don't. Because we have a taste for hearing and chanting. And in Ashakti, the predominant mood is a taste for bhajan, for our hearing and chanting. We're getting such a taste, and we really like to do it. And we're getting so much. But in Ashakti, the predominant consciousness is attachment to the object of bhajan, Krishna himself, Radha and Krishna, or Mahaprabhu, Ram, is more prominent. Because in Ashakti, of course, there's taste. Ruchi is there. And in Ruchi, also there is some attachment is there, but it's not predominant the way it is in Ashakti. In Ashakti, there's such an attachment to our worshipable object. Such an attachment. And the taste is automatically there. And the heart becomes so cleansed at this state. Because before that, as we know, the heart was really dirty. We had a very dirty heart, right? Covered with so much dirt. So much. And what is the dirt? Desire for sense gratification. So if we were to go back to the chart that showed the eradication of the anarthas, that eradication is only absolute for the eradication of anarthas from pious and impious activities only in Ashakti. So we still, in Ruchi, there's some, it's absolute there. No, it's complete. It's complete in Ruchi, but not absolute. In Ashakti, it's finally absolute. But the anarthas from aparads is only, what do you call it? What's the word? It's only extensive. Extensive. The anarthas from aparads are still there, even in Ashakti. In Ashakti, because the aparads coming from anarthas, they still have to go through partially complete, complete, and absolute. That's much more difficult, the anarthas from aparad. But the aparads from imperfectly performed bhakti, where we get pratishta, wanting name and fame, that is actually absolute in Ruchi. Because you get so much taste for bhakti, you have no taste for this name and fame and for money and for followers. And in Shakti, because we get such an attachment to Bhagavan and serving Bhagavan, there's no more attachment to sense gratification. It's finished. No more. What a relief. What a relief, right? What a relief. but still we have something. That's why we still need to go through Bhav Bhakti, Prem Bhakti, and finally actually attaining Bhagavan. Attaining direct darshan of Bhagavan and being accepted as his personal associate. That means our relationship with Krishna is fixed. Our sthayi bhav, we'll hear about that later. Our fixed relationship, our fixed service mood to Krishna will be there. And we enter into Leela, then absolutely the anarthas from aparads are 100% gone. It's that we're talking now about an evolution of bhakti, or what do you call it, transformation, maturing of bhakti. So if we look at this chart here, we had our seed that was in our heart, and it had all our potential of our relationship with Krishna, right? If we're in Madhurya Ras, if we're a Manjari, if our actual spiritual body is the mood of a Manjari, that's here in potential form. It's not manifest, but it's there. Just like the seed for a banyan tree has the whole banyan tree within the seed, but it's not manifest. So we have that seed, and by meeting the devotees, sadhu sangha is essential at every stage. So by some kind of sadhu sangha, we attain some shraddha. And so what happened? This little seed started to sprout. Yeah, it's sprouting now. And what happened? Then sadhu sangha, narta nivritti, bhajana kriya, some leaves started to come. Remember? We were having leaves now on the little sprout. Like if you watch a tulsi plant growing, right? The leaves start to come. And one side is smooth and one side is rough. That was the Vaidhi Bhakti and the Raganuga Bhakti, you know. But what's happening in Ashakti? Buds. Buds are finally coming. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur specifically mentions, what does that mean when buds are coming? That means flowers are surely coming soon. And fruit will surely come soon. Unless somehow or other we make some kind of mistake and the buds get cut off or the plant gets uprooted. And that's offense, right? We commit offense, then even though we have these buds here, it's going to be a big problem. Because the whole little thing is going to dry up and we'll just have this seed down here again, and then eventually someday we'll get to start all over again. Because you never lose everything completely. Because we are eternal spirit souls. You know, if we're an eternal spirit soul, it's not that you become nothing. You cannot become nothing ever. It's not possible. But it can be a long, long, long time before you get another chance to practice bhakti in proper sadhu sangha, and for your seed to sprout and your whole bhakti to become nourished, and you finally get buds again, and then the flowers and the fruit of prem. So we have to be careful, very careful, even in these higher stages, even in the stage of Ashakti, even in Bhav, we have to be careful. But at this stage of Ashakti, where this attachment to Bhagavan is so intense, and our heart has become so cleaned actually at this stage, that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions that a reflection of Bhagavan's form and everything is reflected in our heart. Actually, we get some darshan. And it's such a darshan, even though it's a reflection, it seems as if we're having direct darshan with our eyes. That's a Shakti. So a little bit of our Siddha Swarup, our perfected spiritual body, starts to manifest at this point. It's a very, very special time. And then from that, Bhav, of course we'll speak about Bhav starting tomorrow, but then the mercy from the devotee, from our Sri Guru, who has our Bhav, the same Bhav, will manifest in our heart, and the flowers of Bhav will manifest. Like this. Up until that point, that Suddha Sattva Satchitananda had not descended in the way it will descend in Bhav. It had not. This is Sadhan Bhajan. We're doing our Sadhan Bhajan and we're getting mercy. Yes, it's always there. But in Bhav, then they shower the Bhav on us and our Siddhadeha becomes manifest. It's not just a reflection then. In Bhav, our actual Siddhadeha is manifest. And then our consciousness of who am I is not intellectual. It becomes spontaneous because the Siddhadeha is there and I am a spirit soul, really. It's not that we're just, oh yes, I'm a spirit soul, I'm a spirit soul. No. It's I'm a spirit soul. I'm a maidservant of Srimati Radhika. I'm a Saka. I'm a motherly gopi. I'm a whatever it is, actually becomes, how do you say it, real. Becomes not just an intellectual imposition on the soul, you might say. No. We actually start to experience who we really are. It's not just a potential. It's a manifest reality. So in Ashakti, this is starting to come. Wait a minute here. Okay. So also in the stage of Ashakti, these three desires that we've talked about in Ruchi, which is to attain, first to serve Bhagavan favorably, then to serve him with intimacy, and then to attain Bhagavan, are not, as we were just talking about, they're not intellectual. They are spontaneous. Spontaneity has finally come. And at that point also, great humility and lamentation come. So reality starts to really come. I am so fallen. And this is that fifth verse of Shikshashtakam, isn't it? Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitamam visame bhavam buddho kripiya tavapada pankaja stita duli sadrisam vichintayaha. Oh, I've forgotten you for so long. But now, somehow or other, I understand. I'm your servant. But I'm here. I'm just in this ocean of misery. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your lotus feet. This becomes a real heartfelt prayer. And at this stage, it's explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur doesn't really mention it in the Madhurya Kadambini, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions it in his Shikshashtakam and his Bhajan Rahasya, that at this point is when Krishna himself starts to actually hear our prayers and his heart starts to melt for us. Up until that time, because it's more intellectual, it's more like the super soul, or Sri Guru is hearing our prayer like this. It's not that we're not connected, we're always connected, we've always been connected, but it's a different connection than an Ashakti. In Ashakti himself, Krishna, his heart starts melting. And this is why Bhav can come. Because if you remember, in the process of bhakti, this is a famous story of the binding of Krishna by Mother Yashoda. There's two factors. Isn't it? Two factors. Our effort, Mother Yashoda's effort, and Krishna's mercy. So this Sadhan Bhajan, we're being trained and tested in our effort for Sadhan Bhajan, isn't it? Trained and tested, trained and tested, trained and tested. And when we talk about Ruchi, we're talking about stages. And they're completely defined here by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's not that in the stage of Shraddha or the stage of Nishtha we have no Ruchi. We do have taste, but we haven't reached the level, the stage of taste, where it's steady, you see, like this. Or even in Bhajana Kriya, Nishtha, there's some attachment, there is. But it's not the stage of a Shakti, like this. Because we wouldn't be able to do any sadhana bhajan if we didn't have any attachment and we didn't have any taste. It would be impossible like that. But the creeper is maturing, it's growing, it's evolving, you know, like this. And there's stages that are defined here. They're defined by Rupa Goswami also, and there's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and they're defined here in the Ujjvala Nilamani. So in Ashakti, this stage of Ashakti is so enchanting for the heart. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that only one who has ruchi or more than ruchi, has a Shakti or more than a Shakti can understand it. No one can understand it if they haven't come to that level. Not even someone in ruchi, really. Not someone in nishtha. They cannot understand. What to speak of the non-devotees? They cannot understand the activities and the speaking of someone in this stage. Because by now, he's really lost all interest in the material world. He has. He only is singing, where is my Krishna? Like in this song, Aye Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram. Oh, Krishna, you are my only hope. There is, I look at me, I'm so tiny, I'm so insignificant, I'm still drowning in this material ocean. Even though, in one sense, he isn't drowning as much as he was, that's for sure. But he feels like he's just realized how much he's drowning. See, it's a matter of awakening of the soul. Because let's say in Nishtha, we don't even realize how fallen we are, do we? We don't realize how much we're in the ocean of material suffering. What to speak of when you're in Shraddha, you know? We're still thinking we're doing pretty good sometimes, you know? It's all right if I just go off to a few movies. It's all right if I go out to the restaurants, and it's okay if I don't need to chant so much, you know, like that. You know, just like this.
I have two questions.
Oh, okay. There's someone who has two questions.
No, do you like? My problem is I forget very soon.
Okay, so let's listen to the question. Let's take one at a time.
The first question is that it's already back.
Oh, you already forgot.
No. Okay. So one question was that you told about the constitutional position of the soul manifesting at the level of Asakti.
Well, it's a reflection. It actually manifests in Bhav.
Yeah. But at least there's an understanding now.
Yeah.
And it's real. It's not
it's real.
Intellectual imposition.
No.
But even at earlier stages, even at, like for example, when we are going about, when I'm a sadhaka, we see that our mind gravitates to one side. Like for example, we may be exposed to the conceptions given by our acharyas.
Mm-hmm.
We are also exposed to conceptions coming in other lines. Now, especially when we stay in Braj, we know the conceptions given by Harivansh Goswami or other personalities. But still we tend to gravitate towards one side. Like for example, if we are gravitating towards, say, the side of our acharyas, we are gravitating towards the Rupanuga conception.
Right.
Which is definitely the conception of being the maid servants of Srimati
Okay.
Radharani. Now, one part is the intellectual understanding, but the other part is, like you said, realization. But how do we place this gravitation? Is it that this gravitation in itself is not substantial, in the sense that would somebody who is actually performing devotion under the guidance of Rupanuga gurus, after some time suddenly realize that he is actually sakha, something like that?
Okay. So his question is, we have natural tendencies, and sometimes, let's see if I can get it right, we gravitate towards, let's say, as we're practicing bhakti, like some devotees think, let's say, that they're a bhakta of Nrsingadev, or they think they're a bhakta of Ram, like this. But it may not be their actual constitutional, who they really are. So how do we, what was the question? How do we understand?
For example, I'll give an example, like Harivansh Goswami's followers, they are Swakiya.
Oh,
got a
okay.
very strong Swakiya conception.
Yeah,
We
okay.
are completely in the Parakiya conception.
Okay.
So I'm just saying that somebody, for example, following the Rupanuga Dhara, following the path of the Parakiya bhajan, even if he's not at a high level, it seems odd that at some point of time he will not suddenly realize that he is actually in the Swakiya proportion.
Okay, here's one, I'm not quite sure I can, it's a very interesting question. He's asking if we're in the Rupanuga, let's see, I'll give an example. We're in the Rupanuga line. We've come to the Rupanuga line. Would it be possible that we actually are in another line and we'll go over there? Is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah, it doesn't seem.
Okay, let me see. Now I can give an example. I think what to understand here is Super Soul is with us. It's been with us in time immemorial. And Guru is with us. We have our eternal Guru. And they're actually guiding us all the time. And we have our own particular, individual, unique path of bhakti. Right? And so we're going to have to go through many, many things. We also have our free will and our independence. So when someone's, even in the material world, if you do something that is not acceptable by society, you get punished, right? So that's the example of offenses. You do something not acceptable by Bhakti Devi, you get punished, right? But also, in Bhakti, sometimes, for only Krishna and Guru really know why, you go through different things that seem like, why did I need to go through that? But there's a couple of examples of this is just how it is. Who knows? It's why Guru and Krishna. We have Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. You have Rupa Manjari, Labanga Manjari, right? And they were practicing Braj Bhakti, like this. But their brother, Anupam, who met Mahaprabhu also, he was a Ram Bhakta. As much as Mahaprabhu wanted him to change, he could, because he was a Ram Bhakta. That was his constitutional position. And his brothers are Rupa and Sanatan, but that is his position. You see? Also Murari Gupta. He was with Mahaprabhu, but he could not give up Lord Ram. And Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. He said, I was just testing you, because he asked him to chant Hare Krishna, right? And to worship Radha and Krishna. But he could not. He wanted to commit suicide. He wanted to die, because he could not. Also, we have the example of Venkata Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta Goswami in South India. They were in their particular life, they were raised as they were worshiping Lakshmi Narayan in Sriranga, right? And Mahaprabhu came to them, and because they were actually in Madhurya Ras, he easily changed them. He could not change Murari Gupta or Anupam, but he could easily change Gopal Bhatta Goswami, his father, Venkata Bhatta, and Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, because they were in Madhurya Ras. You see, because whatever is there is actually, that's fixed. I know some people think it isn't, but it is fixed. It's fixed, like that. And everyone has an individual path. Who can understand, why, Krishna can understand why a person's going here and going there and this. But finally, what will happen to someone who's sincere is they will meet that guru, who is their eternal guru, will appear before them, and he has the same mood that they have, and he will take them up, and he will give them, he will, manifest their bhav by his mercy, and take you back to Braja Vrindavan. Or he will take you to Ayodhya, or he'll take you to Dwarka, wherever your final destination is. And your guru will be there in his Siddha form, as a Guru Saki or as a Ram Bhakta, whoever, like that. So we don't really need to worry. We just have to pray to be sincere, really sincere, like this. And we should be careful, though, that we don't, of course, it's all part of the process. Like if someone says, I am a Ram Bhakta, or I am a Nrsimha Bhakta, but we don't really know, like this. We have to be a little bit careful that we don't get ourselves stuck when that isn't really our constitutional position. Like that, you see? And, but anyone who comes and stays with the Rupanuga line, they're definitely being trained as a follower of Rupa Goswami, ultimately a follower of Rupa Manjari. And if they're not meant to be that, then they will go to someplace else. Like that. And it'll be a natural thing. I mean, look at the brother of Rupa and Sanatan. He just naturally could not follow them in that way. But they were very close, very intimate. He was with Rupa Goswami in Ram Kelly, and I think he was with Rupa Goswami also in Allahabad. He heard Mahaprabhu there. It wasn't until later that he passed away. You know, so these things are quite inconceivable, actually. And it's a very internal thing, very internal. Did you remember your second question?
Yeah, my second question was, you were telling that at the stage of Asakti, the mind naturally gravitates or goes towards the Ishta.
Yeah, Ishta day.
And before that, when you are in Anarthani Vritti, even in Ruchi, you said that the mind is tending to go towards the material objects, and then you, with your intellectual...
well, I think that's more in Nishta. In Ruchta, it's not quite like that. But our taste is more towards the bhajan, the hearing, the chanting, and not as strong towards the Ishta.
So my question was, then it seems natural, especially if somebody is really wanting to try perform devotional service, then it seems natural that he will very strongly avoid the same, he will naturally strongly avoid the circumstances which again pull his mind towards the material objects. I mean, what I mean to say is that sometimes, for example, now we are in Vrindavan, which is very conducive to think about Krishna in every way. Mm-hmm. But we may have the opportunity to wander all across the globe doing this, even doing some service or doing this or doing that. But then it will be natural for a person who is not in Asakti, but who yearns to develop deep devotion, to avoid such circumstances, because his mind naturally runs there. And suppose he places himself in that situation only.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we have to make this short, because they aren't hearing. Okay, so he's asking about the mind and the mind wandering, and he's asking about, won't it be natural to avoid going to the places or the situations that make your mind wander? Now, that may not be possible. It may be possible. And also, when we finally reach these higher levels, it won't matter where we're at. But yes, in Nishta, and even in Bhajana Kriya, then I'll take the example of, let's say, being a foreigner in India and in Vrindavan. We are, by this birth, we are forced to go out of Vrindavan to get a visa. We have to have a passport and get a visa. We're forced. There is no other way, right? But when we leave Vrindavan, we try and take Vrindavan with us. And sometimes when we're in the West, we're more in Vrindavan than when we're here in Vrindavan. Because the mind is more difficult to control than the restless wind. You can be, as we know, sitting next to the most elevated sadhu, let's say Srila Prabhupada, and he could be telling the most wonderful elevated Harikatha, or singing Jaya Radha Madhava, and the mind can just go. It's really beyond our control. All we can do is pray and desire, and lament when it does that. But it's really beyond our control, isn't it? It's not until, as we're reading here, till we get to the level, Ruchi is beginning, but Ruchi is the immature stage of Ashakti. They're really kind of the same. One is just immature and one is mature. Just like Bhav is the immature stage of Prem, you see? So in Ashakti, the mind will spontaneously and automatically go towards our Istadev and towards bhajan. Automatic. So all we can do is tolerate. Tolerate, tolerate. Because it's true, you would think that if you're removing the objects that the mind goes to for sense gratification, then you won't have a problem. But we see that's not true. All the objects can be removed. We can be in Vrindavan, sitting next to the topmost sage, and in the Jamuna, and our mind can be who knows where. You see? It's like Hare Krishna. Our only hope is to try our best to chant Hare Krishna, follow the instructions of the sadhu, and just don't give up. And when we realize that the mind has gone where it shouldn't go, where we don't want it to go, we bring it back. This is our sadhana. Until beginning in Ruchi is not, and Ashakti then it's not. But that is our sadhana, isn't it? Chanting Hare Krishna isn't so difficult. What's difficult is keeping the mind concentrating on the sila, isn't it? That's what, or our Diksha mantras or whatever, around the bhajan. I mean, you can be the most expert bhajan singer, and you're so trained, and everyone's, oh wow, he's so, but actually the guy's mind is, oh, that girl over there, she's really cute, if I sing really well, maybe she'll, meet me over there later. We've seen it a million times. Isn't it? So all we can do is pray and try and be honest. If we're honest with Guru and Krishna, oh, look at my heart. See, this is that 5th sloka of Shikshastakam. It's the real honesty. I am so fallen. I'm so fallen. I'm your servant, but I'm so fallen. Please, you pick me up. I'm only dependent on your mercy. Finally in Ashakti, Even before that, in Ruchi, it was nadanam, najanam. I don't want anything. But still, and before that, it was like, what was the one before that? It's Trinadapi Sunichena. The purification is coming and the consciousness is coming. Gradually coming. But even with Trinadapi Sunichena, not quite enough. There might be still some desire for sense gratification. So nadanam, najanam. I don't want anything. And then finally, Ayinanda, oh wow, I don't want anything. I'm so fallen, but still all these things. Oh please, help Krishna. The focus is on Krishna. You see, Krishna. I can't do it by myself. It's impossible. That's even in Manashiksha. What is it? You're walking along the highway, the broad road of bhakti, and the thugs come. Who are the thugs? That's lust, anger, greed, everybody. Everyone's coming, Pratista, they're coming, And all you can do, Raghunath Das Goswami, Rati Manjari, what does he say? Call out to the great commanders in the army of Mahaprabhu. The great commanders. Who is that? Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Swarup Damodar, Haridas Thakur. Call out to them. They are strong. They can save you. You can't do it yourself. And the next door neighbor can't help you either unless he's Rupa Goswami. And your wife can't help you. Your mother can't unless they're, of that caliber. Your money can't help you. Nothing can help you. You can look like the most puckered devotee, you have everything in your room, but that's not going to help you. No. Nothing can help you until you understand only the mercy of Krishna and his powerful generals in his army. Sadhu Sangha. See, that's why here in this stem is written Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha is always the stem, the most important. Sadhu Sangha. Even in bhav, even in prem, because we are always going to be Tatastha Shakti. We don't become another Shakti. We don't. When we get prem, we're still Tatastha Shakti. So we're still small and insignificant, and we will always need, and it will be permanent, that chit bal, the spiritual strength from our Guru. and the Vaishnavas. They have it. The Nityasiddhas, not just the Parikars. Parikars. They will be holding us up. And there will be no chance of us falling down. But we will be always dependent. And the sadhus, the gopis, if it's a Madhurya Ras, or the Sakas, if we're in Sakya Ras, if we're in Ayodhya, the Ram Bhaktas, they will train us. And they will be there helping us. And like this. This is called the land of prem, of love and affection. They love us. And naturally our love will awaken. And we will love them. There's no material envy. There's no material lust that causes this friction and disharmony and wanting to be number one. Because everyone knows Krishna's number one. Of course, we always think Radharani's number one. Because Krishna thinks Radharani's number one. So that's, that's okay. That's transcendental, right? And that leads to ras. In the spiritual world, prem is really prem ras. Ras, it's so hard to explain in English, but it's the relationship, the pastimes, It's so beautiful. And this is what pleases Krishna, It's like, let's say they're at Radhakund. No, not Radhakund. Let's see, what's a better place? No, Radhakund's okay. Radhakund, and they're having they're in the water, so, and they're having their water fights, right? They're throwing water, and there's a few, the Priya Narmasakas can be there. Madhu Mangal, Subal, like this. They can be there. Not the other Sakas. And of course we've got Lalita and Vishaka and everyone. And the ras isn't just it isn't just like always meet. There is some competition, but it's spiritual competition. There's even spiritual envy, like that. And so when Radharani wins, her Sakis, Jai Shri Radhe, and the Sakis, like this. There has to be some emotion, some lila there. This is what pleases Krishna. But we will not be allowed into that until we're qualified. Absolutely qualified. And not until that stage are we absolutely 100% free from all anarthas. That is the perfection. And within that, because Krishna and Srimati Radhika, they're always ever fresh. It's always ever fresh. So there's always newer, like this. It's very exciting. It's as Jiva Goswami says, you cannot have ras without chamatkar. Chamatkar is astonishment. It has to be astonishing. Krishna Leela is astonishing. So I kind of gotten way up here, but what happens is this astonishment, this ras, this relationship begins to reflect in the heart of the sadhak at Ashakti. And there's the sadhak, because it's so enchanting for him, he feels like he's actually seeing with his eyes and feeling like this. That's amazing, isn't it? The beginning. The buds are coming. That means the flower and the fruit will come. So back to Madhurya Kadambini. I wanted to, there's the ending part, just like in Ruchi, it's a little above my head. I'm not in Ruchi, I'm not in Ashakti. So I wanted to read a little bit like I did last year and make some comments. And because this is also the behavior of a Shakti, the behavior of someone in a Shakti. It's like I read the behavior of someone in Ruchi. So this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Narayan Maharaj making commentary. So, first of all, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he starts describing someone in a Shakti who meets a sadhu. This is quite amazing. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, on seeing a sadhu in the morning, such a devotee in a Shakti inquires from the sadhu, "Dear sage, where do you come from?" Around your neck hangs a shalagram shila in a beautiful flower case. Your tongue constantly quivers as you softly utter the holy name of Sri Krishna and relish its nectar. I do not know why you are giving a person like me. I'm so unfortunate. How is it that you're giving me your darshan? Thus filling me with delight. Just by seeing you, I'm becoming delighted. How is it? I'm so unfortunate. How is it that you're giving me your darshan? Which holy places did you visit on your pilgrimage? Which great souls did you have darshan of in your pilgrimage? And who were the great devotees whose realizations you heard, by which you have made your life and the lives of others successful? In this way, he spends his time drinking the nectar of such sweet talks with the sadhu. He doesn't talk prajalpa. This is the speaking of someone in Ashakti. He doesn't go to the sadhu and say, I really want to get married. You know, these poor gurus, you know, think, oh, I just want to get married. You know, can you please help me? You know, or I'm just suffering because my wife I can't get along with my wife. Or, you know, I really, you know, I'm a foreigner. I want to be able to stay in India. Why is it that I have to do, you know, why is it? I heard Srila Narayana Maharaj once said to a Western devotee who was complaining about, you know, having to get a visa and everything. He said, well, what can I do? He said, if you're a foreigner, you have to have a visa, you have to have a passport, visa, and money. If not, next life be born in India. He was real simple. That's just the facts of life. But see, somebody in a Shakti, even let's say someone in a foreign, but they would not be worrying it. They're on such a high level. They're speaking in such a sweet way with the sadhu. And they're inquiring actually about how to progress in their bhajan. Who is it have you seen? Please reveal to me your bhajan. Please help me in my bhajan. Like this. I'm so fortunate to meet you. So then Srila Narayana Maharaj, he says, so this picture that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given us of the activities of a devotee in a Shakti, this is actually unparalleled. No one else has ever given us this kind of a reveal what a devotee is like and what is his activities in a Shakti. This is unparalleled. We're so fortunate. And if somebody in a Shakti, he's saying, they can't stay in one place. They cannot. We'll see as we go on. They come and meet a sadhu, but then after a while, they keep going. They keep going. So, and he feels like he's become successful as soon as he's meet the sadhu. His life is successful, and he has complete faith, intense faith and affection for the sadhu and for inquiring about his own bhajan and that devotee's bhajan. So next, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he starts speaking about someone in a Shakti. He's left this sadhu, and now he's going to another place. And in another place, he meets someone who's reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. And what does he say to this reciter of the Bhagavatam? He says, Dear sir, noticing the remarkable beauty of the book tucked under your arm, Bhagavatam, I am assuming that you are learned in the Puranas such as Bhagavatam. Therefore, please be merciful to me and rejuvenate my chatak-like ears by showering upon me the nectarine speaking of just one of the verses from the 10th canto. Please just speak to me the nectar of the 10th canto. Even just one verse, please. And upon hearing the explanation, his body hairs stand on end. This is someone in a Shakti. He's already starting to have some of the symptoms of bhav. So one reason why we need to hear this is we can understand when we think we're so advanced, I don't think yet I'm really in the stage of a Shakti. When I'm hearing Bhagavatam, even from an elevated person, are my hairs standing on end? No. At least mine aren't. So this is so that we won't cheat ourselves and cheat others. This is real. These are the symptoms of someone in Ashakti. When he hears the verse from the 10th canto, his hairs stand on end. What to speak of someone in praying? We've already talked about Pundarik Vijayanidhi. You heard the one verse, Aho Bakiya, and he was ripping everything apart. He was in total brain. Okay, so next, Srila Vishwanath Thakur talks about someone who is receiving the darshan of Mahabhagavata. Oh, okay. So he's leaving this Bhagavatam reciter, and he's going to another place. And there's an assembly of sadhus. And in the assembly of sadhus, he sees the topmost sadhu there. And he goes and sits next to this sadhu. And he starts inquiring from him. He says, and he's thinking to himself, if I sit here, all my sins will be destroyed. They're so elevated. Their Harikatha will destroy all my sins. So he's thinking, I'm still so sinful. Well, actually we know that his sins have already been destroyed. But as we know, he's so humble. And he's still thinking he's so sinful. And it's not fake. So he falls to the ground and he offers prostrate obeisances to these sadhus. He's so humble. And then he sits near the topmost Mahabhagavata there. And he's very shy, and he says to the leader of the sadhus, "O crest jewel of physicians," meaning, oh, you're the doctor. Oh, doctor, who can destroy the disease of material existence for everyone. Please examine my pulse. Please see how this degraded person who is extremely fallen is, and ascertain, tell me what my disease is. He's in Ashakti, but see how humble he is, how fallen he's thinking he is. Please tell me the great medicine, the Maharasayan, and the diet. Give me a diet and give me medicine so that I'll be able to nourish my cherished desires. All he wants is to hear that Harikatha that will cure his disease. And he wants a diet. So then he spends some days with these sadhus and with that Mahabhagavata, hearing his Harikatha and taking the medicine and the diet. But he goes on. He goes on. So then what happens? Because Srila Gurudev is explaining, the Ashakti in his heart is so full and so brimming, it doesn't allow him to stay in one place. See, we may think we're so, oh yes, I love to go to Harikatha with Srila Narayana Maharaj or Srila Prabhupada. Oh yes, But this person, he's just going and going. His Ashakti is so strong, overflowing. So then he's saying, where shall I go? What shall I do? How shall I attain Krishna? That's all he's thinking. He's not thinking about, oh, wow, the Harikatha is really nice, but my back really hurts. Oh my gosh, I think I better give some prasadam, No, nothing. So then what happens? Srila Vishwanath Thakur says, so then sometimes he wanders into a forest. And in the forest, he sees a black deer. And he's thinking, oh, if that black deer takes a few steps towards me, that means Krishna's mercy is on me. So he starts seeing Krishna's mercy everywhere. It's either it's coming or it's not, through the activities of the birds and the animals. He's so absorbed. Surely, Krishna will, no, that deer is coming near me. Oh, I'm going to get the mercy of Krishna. Oh, the deer is going away. Oh, you see? He's only absorbed in attaining his object, Krishna Bhagavan. He longs for Bhagavan's mercy through everything. So then what happens? Srila Vishwanath Thakur, it's very amazing. He's wandering again, and he comes to the outskirts of a village. This is in India. And he sees some very, very young Brahmin boys. And he actually thinks, oh, this is the four Kumaras. It's not fake. You know, we may think, oh yes, 4, that means four Kumaras. No, but for him, he really feels that. So then he asks, he says, will I obtain Krishna? And if these young boys even understand what he's saying, one may say no, and then he gets very, very heartbroken. One may say yes, and he gets very excited. So then what? Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes someone who is behaving like what he calls a miserly merchant. And he's just sitting at his home and he's thinking, what shall I do? Where shall I go? How shall I obtain my cherished treasure? How? And he's sad. He remains asleep sometimes. Sometimes he's standing up. Sometimes he's sitting down. And his family members, they think, well, why are you acting so strangely? And he just is quiet. He tries to conceal his situation, but he cannot. He cannot. So then Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ends. This is the very last part. And he explains the opinions of those various persons who are seeing someone in Ashakti. Outside persons, right? Who's seeing him acting like this, like a crazy person, outwardly, right? But inwardly, he's just absorbed in attaining Krishna's mercy. And he's getting so much pleasure from this. So, he forgets to eat. He forgets to bathe. He forgets his bodily functions. He has no care for them. And it's not like an intellectual renunciation. He's just too, he can't be, he only wants one thing. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that when his friends and relatives see him, they think he's deranged. He's just become mad. And the ignorant neighbors, they just think he's mentally unfit and dull. Now, the adherents of Mimamsa philosophy, those are persons who get into logic and argument in the Vedas and stuff. They just think he's a fool. The Mayavads, they think he's bewildered because they're bewildered about everything. They think he's bewildered too. The fruitive workers, that he would just want the prophets, they declare that he's ruined. Oh, he's ruined, you know, he's ruined. He has nothing, so he's ruined. He has no fruits, right? But the devotees, they understand the true state of affairs. They say, aha, just see, he's obtained the most essential thing. He's attained that treasure, that great treasure. And what do the offenders to the Vaishnavas think? They think that this person in Ashakti is proud and deceitful, because that's what they are. But this person in Ashakti, this sadhak in Ashakti, he is actually becoming the best of devotees. And he's free from all concern for mundane honor and dishonor. He doesn't care about the dualities of the material world anymore. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains it very beautifully. He says he's simply immersed in the flow of divine attachment to Bhagavan, Bhagavat Ashakti, which is flowing like the Mandakini Ganga. This attachment, it's just flowing like that, the Ganga, right? Mandakini. And he continues to manifest all these divine symptoms. And from this will come Bhav. It's beautiful. It's a Manoharini, the enchantment of the heart. So, and then in the end, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he concludes the chapter. It's very beautiful. He makes a very good point. He says, only a jeweler can recognize a diamond, a real diamond. Not a potter, one who makes pots, and not someone who deals in cooking oil. They cannot recognize a real diamond. So only the devotees of Bhagavan can actually recognize a devotee in the Shakti. No one else. And they can appreciate how fortunate he is, and what devotion he has, and how his life has become successful. And gradually, gradually, this devotee in Ashakti is going to advance and advance. First he'll come to Bhav, and then he will actually dive into the ocean of prema. And there's a really nice shloka. It's actually by Narottam Das Thakur. I can't remember if it's in Pratana or in Prem Bhakti Chandrika. And he's saying that he's standing at the ocean of prema. And he's talking about himself as being like ignorant. I don't know how to swim. I don't know how to swim. But even though I don't know how to swim, tell her 1 minute. Tell her 5 minutes. She's early. So he says he's standing at the ocean of prema, and he's seeing this unlimited ocean of prema. This is Narottam he's saying. I'm standing here and I don't even know how to swim, but I'm diving in head first. I'm diving into this ocean of prema. This will be our condition when we finally come to the ocean of prema. Because all this will be there. Our intense taste, our intense attachment, the actual bhav will be there. And we will dive head first. Dive. Vanchakalpaturusha kripa sindhu bhivata patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dive. Next week is bhav. Well, it's either you or me.
Everyone will have to.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Hare
Gaur Haribol. Jai Ho, Jai Ho. Madhurya Kadambini ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Jai Ho.